Hey, hello, 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 aloha. It is the Failcast F1 podcast coming at you like a 90s rap song by the sounds of that, with the post-coital qualification of Bahrain 2021. My name is Mr. Bolkenberg. Alongside me, as always, is our favourite Mexican friend, Mr. Definitely Zero. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, my dear friend. I think I'm good. I don't know. Well, because no, it's hard to tell because I haven't streamed like this for quite a while, and all my settings are fucked. And I was late getting here, so everyone will notice all the news is out of date. All the points score and everything is all out of date. And I don't even know if my microphone's working.
Worst case scenario, we can hear you loud and clear from this side. Hey, Manna, in the chat. Nice to see you. Don't know if you managed to sneak in, watch the old quali. We'll be doing our opinions on it throughout this episode and probably making some bold and terrible predictions for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, I'm being told that I have no sound.
Oh, no.
So, hold on. What manner of thing has happened here?
This could be some kind of David Bowie concept album, potentially.
Barrier to barrier. Right, let me see. You talk some waffle for just a second, and I will see if I can't figure this out.
I've done that for 37 years. I can do it for another 5 minutes. I was going to say ground control to Major Tom, but actually it would be ground control to Major Murray. Hope you are doing well. Loving that Williams tribute on the Halo, by the way, on that Williams.
Oh yeah, which should they go for?
I have to stop because I've got a lump in my throat.
Oh,
that one.
Bless them.
So yeah, grand stuff. Yeah, we can hear you, Ben, on this side. I think it's your Twitcheroo that's gone a bit.
Oh, okay. Then if you could tell everyone on my stream to go watch your stream, I'll end my stream.
Oh no.
Because I'm not going to waste everyone's time while I dick around with a microphone. I'll have my homework done next week, teacher. I promise.
Spanky. Yeah, anyone that's watching over on Twitch, Definitely Zero, come and play on youtube.com/higherplane games. We're live right now, and you can go and get yourself a snack on the way.
Pip pip.
Awesome.
Right then, well, if nothing else, that does make my life a bit easier because I don't have to care what I look like now. Don't have to correct my hair, any of that nonsense. All that's behind us. So
you can look extra feral anyway because of Germany being back into the lockdown. So you have every intention and right to look like a banshee possessed if you want to.
Oh, we're never going to get out of lockdown at this rate. We're just never going to get out. Really, it looks like I won't get vaccinated till next year. That's the word on the street. And yeah, like, I don't know, the whole thing's really confusing. I have no idea what's going on, but that doesn't stop me from trying. It never has. So with that in mind, how about we get into the actual podcast of the podcast?
Yeah.
So first off, we are in Canada, which... well, I was going to say, I don't tend to crash here, but that's not strictly true. It is possible for me to crash here. Some of the fast corners at the end of Sector 1, start of Sector 2. I also hate Sector 1 here just generally. And of course, the Wall of Champions is always a fucking nightmare. But it's the first non-bogey circuit since Australia.
Wait.
So... maybe this time I'll get a finish. Wouldn't that be something to write home about?
Changeable conditions for the race. Starts dry, goes wet. So that's going to ruin everything. It will ruin my setups anyway. I don't deal with mixed conditions.
I'm going to stick more downforce on the car then.
The only thing that I can deal with that's mixed is normally a mixed kebab or a mixed starter platter from an Indian.
Oh God! Don't say that. Jesus, you're gonna knock me off the wagon now. Fuck.
Off the wagon. I love that there is a wagon for these things.
Well, see, people might not know this about me, but I have a genuine addiction to Indian food. I mean, we're talking like I need help. And I've been really good. I've been down to 2 a month. So once a fortnight, I've been on the curry train. But now you've mentioned that, what I'm thinking of, I'm supposed to be talking about F1 news, but all I'm thinking of is chicken pakoras.
Ooh.
That's what I'm thinking of. Or onion bhajis, or garlic naan bread.
It might put you in like the Zen mode though, where like all the barriers just become like a blur, and then you suddenly win in the spirit of the bhaji. It could really work.
I could try channeling the spirit of the bhaji. That is true. I've never tried that technique before. If it works half as well as being slightly pissed does, then we could be on for a good race.
That's true. Unless you channel the Argy Bargy, in which case you're going to end up like Nikita Mazepin, facing backwards every couple of laps around the circuit.
Yeah.
Segue.
What can we say about that boy?
Even the Haas car says no to Mazepin as well at the moment. So every episode I'm going to pull out one of those. It's now going to be my trademark, Soz.
I mean, obviously, no surprises about where the Haas qualified at all. And no surprises about the order in which they qualified. But I'll be honest, I did think he'd be able to control the car a little better than he did through the practice sessions from what I saw.
Yeah, and his one down at turn 1 looked really weird as well, because maybe it was just the camera angle, but it looked like he'd spun it before he'd really like even got into the heart of turn 1, and then caused all the problems for Q1 for potentially Vettel, which caused his shock knockout, which I have to say, judging by how that Aston Martin is looking, was less of a shock perhaps for me than maybe it was for a lot of other people. But yeah, that Haas looked evil as well as being slow, which is not a good combo at all. And Schumacher's not even a fast qualifier. He does all of his work on Sunday. He never got pole during his entire F2 career. So he's not the strongest qualifier. Mazepin's a better qualifier in terms of like poles and getting up top positions. But that car, and especially Mazepin, or Mazepin, as it took on to Twitter, looked really out of his depth.
Quelle fucking surprise. I've got some predictions to make about Haas this year.
Ooh.
And one I was going to make has already come true.
Yeah.
Because they said no upgrades to the car all year because they can't afford it. But I know that Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher will both blame the car for their struggles. And I thought at some point the pressure from the guys paying the bills now is going to result in them bringing an upgrade to the car. And lo and behold, yesterday Gunther Steiner announced, okay, we will do an upgrade, but just a small one, a bit of a cheeky one, go on, it's all right. So that first prediction has come true, but here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to predict that Nikita Mazepin is going to get his license suspended.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Juicy juice. What do you think will be the cause of it?
A temper tantrum or reckless driving. No, really, I can't see him not doing it, because he's going to get very frustrated with that fucking car. And if Schumacher keeps wiping the floor with him, as we all expect him to, I think something's going to give at some point, and he's going to do something rash. He's going to bring the sport into disrepute some way. Normally, I don't feel confident making predictions like that, but honestly, with this one, it feels like money in the bank.
That is kind of true, yeah.
It just feels obvious. Because
he was, mind you, Yuki was saying the same thing. They were already like pushy on the radio beforehand, which I found quite funny. Oh, there's drama going on up ahead. But yeah, in the same way that in the F2 race, the first contact of the whole F2 season was Dan Ticktum outbreaking himself and smashing into the back of Drogovic, and I was like, oh, do you know, it was that warm, loving embrace of comfort of knowing that is Dan Ticktum fucking it up again somehow, and you just think, oh, let me into the sweet nectar of Dan Ticktum tears. Although he was actually quite chill about it and accepted, it seems, his own mistake. So there can be change in the world. A leopard can change its spots, even if a slapper can't change her knickers.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but it is obscenely close between you and me.
Oh, baby. Yeah, well, 1-2. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fastest in Sector 1, Hamilton's fastest in Sector 2, and you're fastest in Sector 3. The gap between us is 0.026 seconds.
Oh, wow. Juicy loose.
As Mark Webber would say, it's the margin the size of a bee's dick. So I'm going to go for another run and see if I can't eke something more out of this this situation. Put a bit of tension on us. That time we had a good race.
I don't think I will get the final chicane as good as that ever again. So it's fair game.
Here's my other prediction about Haas, though. I think at some point, probably after Silverstone, Mick Schumacher's ability to remain professional will evaporate.
Really?
Yeah. No, he seems really well together. Don't get me wrong. It will be an understandable frustration, but he'll criticise the team at some point in the second half of the year because the impact it has on his market value, the team being that uncompetitive, will start to become something he's concerned about. And frankly, I'm still a little bit surprised he signed for Haas at all.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what they were able to do to get him to do that, because to me it seemed pretty obvious he was going to Alfa Romeo.
That whole thing still seems a bit weird, and even now I've watched Drive to Survive, it makes no sense still as much as it did before. So yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, Drive to Survive is what put me on this train of thought, because if you see how tense things were with Giovinazzi during those scenes, you know, where they're at opposite ends of the room and like looking at each other, and I didn't hear Giovinazzi say hello to him until it was confirmed he was driving for Haas. Like the whole thing was super tense, and he just looked so like he was being ushered into the team quite openly. But also there were some other details in there, because I don't know if you noticed, but Netflix were like, Steiner's having a meeting with a large German company, right? Might as well name them 1 and 1 because they're all over the car in the overalls, right?
Yeah.
At the time they had that meeting, he was talking about only getting rid of one of the drivers.
Yes.
But when he presents to the board of 1 and 1, he presents race overalls that have both Uralkali and 1 and 1 on them. Mm-hmm. So that means they'd already signed Mazepin at this point.
Yep.
So he was lying through his fucking teeth to everybody.
Yeah. Although I know with Drive to Survive they do like to kind of take things out of complete context. Ooh, juicy lap. And run things out of order, because I was noticing with like team radios and stuff like that, they're completely not even in the right circuit, just to try and make it look more tense. But yeah, if that's the case, then Günther Steiner is dirty, and that whole kind of we want them back, they're all part of our DNA, it's family, but we need to look after ourselves, blah 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 blah. Nice for the press, absolutely meaningless for actually reality.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I totally understand Steiner's predicament completely. Like, Gene Haas is out of that, and the only reason that he's still there is because of the 200 million valuation his team has gained.
Yeah. Just
by virtue of having a thing. And I think he'll sell out to Mazepin's dad. That's my honest feeling. He wants out. he said quite openly in the show, I don't want to put any more money into this. And, you know, it's funny because I also watched a bit of the first season of Drive to Survive, and there they were talking about, everyone said we didn't understand what it takes to be part of F1. And then less than 2 years later, he's already like, it costs so much money and we're not winning. It's like, well, what the fuck did you expect to happen?
Yeah.
And now they're not ruling out taking a different engine than Ferrari. I saw in Autosport piece.
Is there a Russian engine supplier?
Yeah, and Williams are apparently talking to Renault about becoming a customer team.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, a lot of politicking going on. Here's the thing about Drive to Survive. Loved it, by the way. Really, really enjoyed it. Pissed off that George Russell got no airtime at all.
Yeah.
Pissed off that Williams got no airtime at all.
Agree.
I'm tired of them giving Ricciardo so much airtime, even when nothing's really going on.
Yeah, make it a story that's actually happening. Same with the Sainz versus Norris thing. I thought that was interesting, but it's trying to make meat of something that there wasn't meat there for, because they know that those are the people that are marketable / you can sell their faces easier than, say, Kimi just blind talking to the camera. But yeah, I was very bored.
Well, to be honest, like I enjoy seeing Sainz and Norris, but this whole attempt to make it look like there's tension between them was just bollocks.
Yeah.
Because there was no tension between them. Yeah, they raced each other a bit harder, but they didn't fall out. They were playing golf together like 3 days ago on Instagram. Like, they're still best mates. It's, you know, it changes nothing.
Yeah.
And there was so much real drama going on.
Yeah, that's what pissed me off with it.
I don't know why they felt the need to inject drama where there was none.
Yeah, and I know that they choose like where they go and who they look at in advance, and maybe with obviously coronavirus, it kind of limits what you've got done. But they were able to do so much more with other emerging stories as they happened. It just seemed weird that they were so focused on that. Mana's put in a chat, he thinks that Mick Schumacher will be at Alpha next year, but I thought he'd signed a multi-year contract with Haas. I don't know why.
I believe he has. I think he's there for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's partly... I think maybe he would have been at Alpha, but honestly, I think because the rumour is that Alpha are pulling out from Sauber at the end of this season, I wonder if maybe Alpha Sauber are not going to be in the Ferrari stable anymore, and that's why he ended up at Haas. Maybe I've answered my own question there. Because that would actually make sense. And I know Sauber need to go where the money is, right? So
yeah.
But Drive to Survive, still excellent, despite all the artificial drama that didn't need to be in there. I particularly enjoyed the stuff around Racing Point and Big Daddy Stroll and his big dick energy. I
feel like he is a black cape away from being a Disney villain.
Yes.
I want him to be like, wow, welcome to my team. Be like, Cruella de Vil comes out, skins a cat, and then like throws it over Lance Stroll's soldiers, and is like, dance, my pretty, dance.
No, he's. I totally agree, but you can tell like he's so direct and everything, and
yeah,
like I've heard people talk about him, but I've never like seen that much coverage of him, so I didn't know what he was really like. This lap was a fuck up, so I'm coming back in. So, like, for me, it was odd to see him so close up and in so much detail. But the thing that did occur to me is, you know, in Braveheart, there's the King of England, and then his, like, embarrassing gay son. That's what it strikes me, Lawrence and Lance. Because like they're clearly not cut from the same cloth at all.
No,
like, Lance comes across so mild-mannered and a little bit unsure of himself, and then like Big Daddy Stroll's like ordering everyone around and everything. I was thinking, I bet you have some sleepless nights, Lawrence, thinking who's going to run my business empire after I'm gone.
It's not Maybelline, Lance. It can't be done. You can only do so much with eyebrows and massive hair. I wonder if there's a Jeremy Kyle paternity test waiting to be happening somewhere in the background. Dear.
At the same time, like, I agree with you, he seems a bit of a villain. I wouldn't like to work for him, but I think
it's exactly what they need.
He's doing everything right about taking over an F1 team.
Absolutely.
He's investing, he understands what's needed, he's pushing people, but not too much. And honestly, I think Aston Martin was a stroke of genius.
Yes.
The
stars align.
Oh wow, it's really throwing it down outside. That's nice. But as Will said in Drive to Survive, it's the closest Britain has to Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wants to turn it into that. So he wants to make it like the national racing team of Britain.
Yeah.
I'm totally behind that. I like that idea. And also, I learned something new this week. Because I know it's going to come up. So the green that's painted on the Aston Martins, and I, amongst many other people, said that's not British racing green. Turns out I'm wrong.
Oh.
Actually, that is the original British racing green, and it's the stuff that was used later by like Lotus and Caterham that's actually incorrect. So,
okay.
Shut my mouth. Yeah, they are proper British racing green. So there we go. I'm not as much of a smart ass as I thought I was.
Cool, I didn't know that.
But likewise, I sort of think Vettel was an odd choice for...
And if he continues performing like he is at the moment, he'll be an even odder choice. And if it'll be really interesting if Vettel continues to stay in this slump. And like he's portraying himself and everyone's saying, oh, he's so calm at the moment and he's not worrying, he's not panicking at the moment. I think there's a really fine line there between calm / don't care, and I can't quite tell where he is at the moment. I'm sure he's interested in a new project and all of that kind of stuff out of the gate, but key for me is is making sure that we start that again. Sorry, I was confused because I'd actually got the final corner right. Key for me is that if Vettel doesn't improve, how does Lawrence Stroll deal with that as an issue?
You pipped me, you ragamuffin.
Sorry. That was...
No, it was a hell of a lap. Well done. Well done.
Bitch tits lap. It will never happen again, I'm sorry.
No, see to it that it does.
You're better in the rain.
See, the thing is that it's occurred to me that although failure is sort of the theme of the podcast, we've been doing this so long now that really we should be at this point where we've just got enough experience that we're actually able to get the poles and the wins that we didn't get for the first fucking 8 years.
Yes. Agreed.
Because if you look back, it's surprising, like genuinely surprising how long we were finishing casts in like 15th, 16th position, and that was a good result for us.
But we were in Caterhams.
We were. That's true. Although actually, in the Caterhams, we got
done all right,
an all Caterham front row in the first Grand Prix, if you remember, because
we'd done the wrong difficulty, didn't we?
And it rained at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Right, what do I do here? Yeah, I'm going to go for an extra lap there. So 2 stopping, coming in lap 8 for mediums, and then lap 21 for mediums.
Okay. Okay. Hang on, I'm having a crisis of strategy. 2 seconds. Doesn't take much. Yeah. Got competitive all of a sudden. Sorry about that. Never happened.
Do not worry.
I
feel like we've been a bit scatterbrained here, so I'm going to try and get this cast back on track.
Yes, please.
So let's stick on Drive to Survive and we'll move on to qualifying and the relative pace of the cars shortly, right? But I did get some interesting questions arising from Drive to Survive. Some people have been in contact with me on Instagram and so on. So before we start the race, I'll just go through what these questions are and then we can figure out our answers.
Okay.
So one question was, and really think about this, based not on anything else except what you've seen from the inside of the teams through Drive to Survive over the years and what we know, which team were you a driver would you feel that you'd be happiest at? Not most competitive, but where do you think you would be your most comfortable, your happiest? Which I thought was a great question. And the other one that came was, do you feel all the drivers on the grid deserve a place? And if not, what grid would you like to have seen? And I really gave some thought to that. So why don't we start with the first question? Is there a team that you think you would particularly gel well with?
Probably. I don't think there would be. It's probably my answer, and it's because there is no longer a Garagista style team left, and that's because I was going to say AlphaTauri, but then I realised you've got Franz Tost in there throwing all kinds of chaos bombs into every occasion going. Williams has never been a place for happiness, even if you're at the back of the grid. Haas sounds like it's an absolute cluster when you've got that style of management up top, smashing doors and got the fuck up and all of that kind of stuff. Although that sounded more like Toto, sorry. And perhaps I would have then said maybe Racing Point because it was the underdogs that could. But they're now having the daddy's got the paycheck and daddy's home. So you can't... that substitute's not there.
I'm not sure I'd like working for Otmar. Having seen what I've seen of him now...
Yeah.
He seems a bit duplicitous.
Yes.
He seems sneaky. Well...
What about you?
Let me throw this out to you for a second. I'll answer, and while I'm answering, I want you to think then, what team ever do you think you would have fit in well at? And I'll answer the same question as well. Ever, I think the team that I would have been most at home at would have been Jordan.
Ah.
I think me and Eddie would have been Bezzy mates.
You'd have been pissed all the way through.
Yeah, we would get wrecked. We both play the drums. We both like bikini girls. Like, it would have been amazing. My dream teammate as well would have been Eddie Irvine. Me, Eddie Irvine, and Eddie Jordan, just getting wrecked every weekend. There would have been
a 90s pandemic of chlamydia.
But there would be none of those, amazing win for Jordan. That just wouldn't happen. We'd be too hungover. But it would have been epic. But based on the current grid, for me, it came down to sort of two possible options. McLaren, because Zach seems like a genuinely good guy that you could work with. And yes, it's quite a corporate environment. Yeah, there's a bit of pressure. But you kind of want that in your F1 career, I think.
Yep.
And then also, I actually think I'd be able to make it work with Cyril Abitboul at Alpine. I genuinely do, because it seems like, he's the jilted girlfriend of the grid, isn't he? But it seems like he just wants someone to be on his side and in his team. And yeah, I could do that. I think I could handle his mood swings. Because Gunter is too volatile, even if apparently the atmosphere in the Haas team is very family-like. Williams, like you say, never been a good place for friendly relations. I imagine if I was able to compete, Horner wouldn't be too bad to work for, but if you're not the golden boy, then your career is basically dead. Ferrari is a fight to the death. And Mercedes, I don't know, there's something about it that makes me think it's not very. It wouldn't be a very nice team to be in.
I think,
like, I know they all say the right things and we all push each other, but it just seems to me like it wouldn't be a good fit. And that Toto constantly telling me to get to the chopper would grate after a bit.
there's something with me with how Mercedes operate that reminds me really loads of my previous job that I had up until that I've basically had for the last 7 years up until very recently, which was I was dealing with stakeholder engagement and stuff like that for software development for government stuff. And one of the first things that I had to kind of really get to grips with, apart from that Apex, which I missed like a fucking train, was in software development, when you're dealing with people who run alongside something called agile methodology, is that you're constantly making tiny little gains. It doesn't matter how good your piece of work is today, someone will rip it apart tomorrow and for the interests of something better. And actually, if you are precious about anything ever in your work, how you go about doing things, it becomes really demoralizing really, really quickly. And that is great because you strive for perfection, but perfection's never there. But you have to have that kind of brain to not take it personally. And I take it personally because I always want to do a good job. And so I think I would have some kind of mental spiral if I worked at Mercedes and just be like basically Bottas crying on the floor.
I don't wish to cause alarm, but we are alarmingly alike on pace.
I feel like you're faster.
No, I'm not. But we are close on pace. Very, very close.
Oh, if I spank the inside curb of that thing, I always go wide. Sorry.
You are forgiven. So, what team from history then?
Osella.
Do you think?
Osella. Straight out the bag. So I was going to say Minardi, but I didn't want to go for the obvious Smithy choice. So with Osella, the whole point of that was that they had no real. As I shit myself, as I was like, no, don't take that. I thought he was coming down the middle.
I was going to, but then I outbreak myself, and now I've gone wide, and you've caught yourself some breathing room. We were so shit scared of hitting each other there that
I know, causing ourselves any problems.
I've lost a lot of time, but I did momentarily almost go into the back of you.
Nice.
I broke way too hard.
Yeah, Osella was a string. They were always on a string budget. It was loads of people who done it for the passion. Very similar to Minardi, to be fair. But they were like a family unit. It was the same drivers over and over and over again. With no money, but just a hope and a dream. Occasionally getting onto the back of the grid, and occasionally punching above their weight. If only they had a gearbox that didn't break down every 5 minutes, they might have actually finished some races. But yeah, that's where I'd have spent time, especially because they've now got the Osella F1 team page on Facebook. And it's the same people, all the mechanics all in there, just posting photos of like, look at me behind the car. And they're like, oh, I remember. This is me like Italianising everything. But yeah.
It's me, Osella.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of feels like home.
You see, I always like to think I'd get on with Ken Tyrrell, you know, because he's kind of a grumpy old man, and so am I. So he'd be like, that's an outrage. I'd be like, too fucking right, Ken. It's an absolute outrage.
Ban them. Protest.
But you know, probably not. It'd be a clash of personalities, I imagine. So then moving on to the other question, which was, are you happy with the grid lineup, and if not, how would you change it? And I've really put thought into this.
Go for it.
So here's what I would have liked to have seen. Mercedes, Hamilton and Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Ferrari, Leclerc and Daniel Ricciardo.
Ooh.
McLaren, Sainz and Norris, because they're meant to be.
Yes.
Alpine, I would have liked Ocon to stay on leading the team, partnered with a Renault young driver, perhaps Lundgaard. Then I would have liked Aston Martin to have... the problem is it feels like I can't get rid of Stroll because it's kind of like part of the package.
That is true.
And the thing is, I don't think Stroll's a bad driver. Like,
No.
I don't think he doesn't deserve to be on the grid. So that's kind of tricky. I wouldn't have him at that team. That's the thing. So imagining I can do anything, Aston Martin for me, Bottas and Hülkenberg.
Oh.
And yeah, you're going to notice here that Alonso, Raikkonen and Vettel do not make it onto my grid.
Oh, juicy.
Because I think it's time for new talent. No, I genuinely do. AlphaTauri, yes, Red Bull, I'd leave it as it is. AlphaTauri as it is. I think Yuki seems like a great choice, and Gasly definitely has something to offer in that seat.
Yes.
So that leaves me Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Haas. At Alfa, I would have Giovinazzi as like the benchmark, the sort of standard. And alongside him, I would have... This is where I struggle. Part of me wants to say Callum just to see what he'd do for a year, but maybe he'd be better at Haas. So let's say Giovinazzi and Mick Schumacher. Haas, Callum Ilott and Kevin Magnussen for some continuity. And Williams, I think Williams would do well to pull an old hand out of forced retirement. Oh, that's going to help me massively. Confirm change. Are you coming in?
Yep.
Oh, we're going to double box. Then I'll give you a bit of room. Exciting double box maneuver. I wonder who else comes in, if anyone. No, the Mercedes are coming
Everyone's
in for double
in.
box. I'm going to lose out to the Mercedes here.
Bottas has gone through. Stayed out.
Oh, actually, the Racing Points have gained there. The Mercedes got held by traffic coming in.
Oh, great. Giovinazzi stayed out, clearly buoyed by the fact that you'd keep him on.
Well, I would, because I don't think he's done a terrible job.
I think he's done all right, actually, yeah.
And, if nothing else, he's great as a benchmark. So, yeah, that leaves me Williams. And Williams I find kind of difficult because of where they are at the moment, because I think they need... To some extent, they need a Russell figure. Like a young driver, but one who's going to stay with them. And I don't know who that would be, because sure as shit isn't going to be Dan Ticktum on my watch.
Aitken?
Yeah, do you know, Jack Aitken could have one of the seats. And then I think I would like... I would then opt for... Who can we dish out of the bag here? Who have we lost in recent years that wasn't really their time to go?
Kvyat.
Oh yeah, Kvyat. We always said Kvyat and Williams would be a good fit. Yeah, Kvyat and Aitken. Yeah, I could get behind that.
And if Kvyat has joined Renault as their reserve driver, that would line up nicely for a Renault-Williams reunion. It's almost like it's written.
Oh, that would be, yeah. I'm liking where this is going. Although I would be surprised if Williams went for Renault Power unless it's coming with like cash incentive. But I don't know why Renault would pay for that.
Man has put in the chat Ericsson.
No, don't get me wrong. Ericsson was the first name I thought of, actually.
He's doing well in Indy, though.
He's doing so well in Indy, and he's at Chip Ganassi now, right? So, I wouldn't want to screw that up for him. But, we love the Ericsson. We could also bring back, hashtag bring back Max Chilton, or
yes!
the Amazing Adventures of Captain Will Stevens.
Yes, please.
Things as well, like Kamui Kobayashi came to mind, but I think he's just been gone too long.
Yeah, and I think now that we've got Sonoda, we've got our dynamic Japanese missile out there.
And he's better because he swears.
Poor Kamui. Yeah, it's an issue. The only other... I kind of agree with a lot of what you've said, actually. I too would be interested to have seen Ilott, but I'd have put him at Haas alongside either Magnussen or potentially Mazepin. I'd have not bothered with Alonso. I have a soft spot for Guan Yu Zhou, although he didn't impress me today in the race. He got pole, but then decided to just sleep all the way through because of the weird way they've done F2 with the reverse grids everywhere, which kind of does not incentivise you doing very well in race 1, because then you end up down the back for race 2. So I think he was playing a percentage game, going, I'll just finish 7th and not tackle anyone because that lets me start 4th with 3 slow people in front of me. So yeah, I'd put Zhou in, potentially. I would not have Kimi on the grid. I've gone off Vettel, I'm sad to say. I don't know if I'd have him on the grid or not.
I just think he's lost his mojo.
Yeah.
And I was hoping like a move to Aston Martin would bring it back, but it hasn't. Not from what I've seen in testing or practice or what I've heard of from qualifying. Maybe he turns it round, but how many chances to start over is he going to be given?
Indeed.
I mean, to be honest, I'd get rid of Hamilton if I could, just because I'm sick of the fucking sight of him at this point. But he's too good. He is too good. Wow, you took off like a rocket then. You got so much more traction than me out of that corner, and I was faster than you in the first 2 sectors.
You are. I did rich fuel free. ERS 3. That might be why.
I knew that Finnish bastard was going to cut me off. Go into the pits, Bottas. No one wants you here.
Oh, you didn't place Bottas in your
Yes,
grid.
I did.
Oh, you
Aston
did?
Martin.
Oh, sorry. Yes. My bad.
With Aston Martin with Hulkenberg.
Yes, my bad. I was going to say otherwise, back to Williams for you, Bottas. Yeah.
I think Bottas might struggle to find a drive after this year.
I think it will massively depend on whether he stays 6/10 behind Hamilton or not. The problem is with that, and Perez, I think, was incredibly unlucky in this qualifying session to end up 11th because of how tight the grid was with this medium tired strategy thing, which, since we're on medium tyres, if you don't mind, I'll do a little segue.
Yes, please.
For me, when I saw loads and loads of teams, AlphaTauri, McLaren, sorry, not McLaren, it was AlphaTauri, the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, all go out with medium tyres on. I even thought for Mercedes, that's going to be brave because of how tight the grid is this year. You don't have that tyre overlap advantage anymore unless you've got that turning it up to 11 gear. So it was no surprise for me that Perez and Tsunoda didn't get through into Q3 despite showing Q3 pace everywhere else all weekend, because the drop off of that tyre is so huge, and the fact that Giovinazzi nearly leapfrogged them in a soft shod Alpha screams to me that that's an unnecessary risk that you shouldn't be taking. Oh my god, what was that?
Rain.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was like a really slow raindrop because I got the same thing at the same point. No, I completely agree. I hope Red Bull have learned from this mistake. It's funny though because Will Buxton in particular got me really hyped on the idea that this was going to be a Red Bull year.
Yeah.
But seems not to be so.
I mean, that car is not built for Perez either. So it's going to take a while for him to be up and running and happy with it. But, initially... Oh, I nearly lost it there. 3/10 off Verstappen, I wouldn't be too upset with.
No. I mean, he's closer than Albon was getting.
Yeah. It's just that this year, the problem is, oh dear, we have a huge thing. Oh, is it asking me to go for inters? Yeah.
Why don't you pit this lap and I'll go next?
I think we'll be quicker stacking, you know.
You think?
This is a real quick... This has only been a lap of turn.
Yeah, do you know, you're right. All right.
And you've got 6 seconds to Perez. Or I have, anyway. I'll blast it. Finger blast it.
Oh, great. I smashed into the back of you.
And that gives me a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits. Snatching victory from the jaws of defeat.
Go, exit now. We're racing on the exit.
And I'm going to lose time because I have to have my wing replaced.
Oh, God.
Once again, we snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Love it. Red Peckman says, what do we think about the Ferrari resurgence so far? And it was, for me, it was promising to see that they were top on Q2, even though they was on the soft tyres. That was a nice little glory run, 1-2 for the pair of them.
It was. Honestly, I don't know.
I can't place
because it seems to me like it could be a bit of a false dawn. Get out of my way, Haas. You're on hard tyres, like the worst possible choice right now. Oh, I've got so much space to catch you now because I've got a whole bunch of cars between you and me. I'm down in P7. Where are you? Still 1?
I'm still 1, but I've got 5 seconds penalty, which puts me a couple of attempts ahead of Perez. Norris, Verstappen, Vettel. What's happened to Mercedes?
I don't know, but a lot of people being held up now by a Haas behind me that is on hard tyres.
Oh, shit. That's not how you take that corner, Smithy.
Okay, let's try and put some pace down now. Now I can get some heat in these tyres. It feels like it could be a bit of a false dawn. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt the car is better than it was.
Yes.
And I think their lineup is one of my favourites.
Agreed.
So if anyone's going to get the best out of that car, it's those two. I still feel like Sainz may come to regret this move.
Yes.
I think it's going to be quite a short tenure at Ferrari for him.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm thinking like 2 seasons maybe, possibly 3. Because it's clear he's just a holdover for the chosen one. But, you know, there's everything still to play for, right? It's not like he might not be in a top car because, you know, the rumour at the moment is that it's going to be Verstappen and Russell at Mercedes next year.
Yeah.
And I actually could see maybe not Verstappen leaving Red Bull if they're as good on race pace as they seem to be in testing. But I definitely think Russell is going to Williams, barring some fuck up, and he didn't fuck up today.
No.
And I honestly think Hamilton's going to be out.
I think he'll be out at the end of this year, actually. I
I
can't...
don't know if that means out of the sport entirely or just out of Mercedes, but it's clear Daimler did not want him anymore.
I think he'll retire at the end of this year. I just think
he'll
he's got better
retire as an
things.
8-time champion?
Yes.
See, I'm going to counter you and say no, I don't think he will. I think Mercedes are still going to be hyper competitive. They're still going to win races. But I don't think... Actually, maybe he'll be drivers' champion, but maybe Mercedes won't be constructors. I don't know. It seems like they genuinely have some kind of problem with the new car.
I think the whole rake issue that they've got is interesting. I think that if any team is going to get over it, it will be them. But and I think Hamilton can drive around those kind of problems perhaps a little bit better than Bottas, which I wasn't necessarily thinking of when I was watching it in testing. But even between testing and now, that car looks so much more alive and dancey. And planted rather than dancey. But I'm going to slightly double track back on myself. He will retire at the end of this year if he gets the championship. If he doesn't get the championship, I think he might continue on until he gets that 8th championship, so long as he feels that he can get that 8th championship in 2022, and then he'll bow out. I think it would make much more neater sense if he bowed out at the end of this year for a new set of regulations with a new driver lineup and a whole new Daimler-loving fest that's going on. And then that allows him to then go, and I think he may stay with Mercedes, but in an ambassadorial role with race and diversity, and then look at other different things that he's on to.
I actually think his political messaging and his focus on diversity has probably done him harm, actually, in the eyes of Daimler.
I agree. I think therein lies the problem with what he's trying to say, but I agree with it as well.
I don't think a corporation that big wants a controversial face, even if it's controversial for the right reasons.
Yeah.
They just want him to shut up and drive, and they're paying him a lot of money to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's honestly that and Russell, I think, are the reasons why suddenly they decided we don't want to pay this man anymore.
Yeah, the way how Russell was just able to get straight in and be like, "Ta-ding, I can be your champion, and look at my cut price deal." Yeah, it makes in a pandemic world, it makes all of the sense. Yeah. And Russell did himself no issues whatsoever by getting that Williams within a second of the top times in Q2, dragging the car through in Q1, dragging the car into Q2, and trouncing Latifi yet again. Although Latifi was much more closer to the pace than what he was during all of practice, where he looked absolutely atrocious, to be fair. So yeah, interesting.
So I think we're going to have an interesting silly season this year, and I think like last year's silly season, it's going to be one that turns out not to be so silly when the time comes to sign the dotted line.
So what do you...
just to say, I think the only lineup that I view as stable for the next few years, like truly stable, is McLaren.
Yeah, and based on the evidence of them going forward, I know some people were a bit like, oh, they weren't quite challenging for the top 4 in quali today. I was looking at Twitter, but I seriously didn't expect them to be. What I did expect them to be was to be the third, battling for the third best team, and that's exactly where they were. Gasly's Bahrain specialist, so no shock there. Plus the AlphaTauri is looking absolutely on point. But I think it was emerging that through practice, McLaren were running a slightly higher engine mode compared to other people. So that's why it was probably slightly flattering some of their practice place. Only a smidge.
What I would say, though, is I think McLaren will make that step forward at some point in the season and be challenging for the top 4 positions. I think they'll be in the mix. because the car just looks excellent, and I think they're still adapting to this new power unit.
Yeah.
Ricciardo's still finding his feet, although he managed to outqualify Norris in the end after being behind him all the time.
Yeah.
Am I too far back to make a lunge? Can I do a Ricciardo move here? Yeah, I'm too far back.
Talking of Ricciardo, one of the things that I found really, really interesting, I can see you're making a move because I can see you flipping about
I didn't
on
intend to, but he turned in and hit me anyway, so I was like, well, fuck you then, I'm going through.
Ultimax. One of the interesting... I like to do a let's spot the new F1 graphics at the start of each season. And there's a couple that I quite enjoyed, actually. The first one, which was really handy for understanding where's Mazepin going to spin this time, was watching the wind direction being blown over the track. Enjoyed that one. But the most interesting one from a statty point of view was... they were bringing up different corners and then overlaying brake and acceleration traces for teammates for each other. And what was really interesting, and Crofty will lunge onto any old thing that he can, to be fair, was that down at turn 1, Norris brakes later and heavier than Ricciardo, and he was like, I can't believe Daniel Ricciardo's been outbroken by people. So... yeah, I just found it really interesting.
You saw that in Drive to Survive as well, right? Where they're telling cars, we're not saying we want you to brake like Lando, but, brake like Lando.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I think it's a double-edged sword giving out that information.
Yep.
Because I know that teams have it about their drivers, because they're always comparing teammates. But making that public on the world feed, suddenly, a sharp engineer is going to be able to know what this means, like where opposing cars are particularly strong, where they're not pushing as hard as they could. Mm-hmm. But maybe that livens up the competition a bit. Who knows? I don't know. I'm very excited for the season. Let's put it that way. I think it's so close that it's the new hardest season to predict I've ever watched.
Agree.
I had no idea how the Alpine Aston Martin battle was going to turn out, and I still don't. I was curious to see where Williams fit into things, and it turns out they're even faster than I thought they might be, which is good to see. And the fact that Ferrari seem to have some teeth at least. Yeah. Is encouraging. I just, like I say, I worry it might be a false dawn. Like it could be track specific or something. But who knows? Who knows? I'm spinning up my rear tyres too much.
I'm going to be pitting for new Inters in a couple of laps.
Do you think we'll go to full wet in this race?
Don't think so. It doesn't feel like it's getting heavier. Shall I ask Jeff for lols?
Well, no, because what usually happens is he tells me slicks look the right tyre about now in the middle of a monsoon.
There's a tsunami taking place.
Here's another fun game. We're not far away from starting to get the usual teasers for F1 2021. What surprise feature do you think they're going to release this year? Do you think we're going to get F3?
I reckon... So I know there is a plan to have F3 at some point. I think they will not. I think if we get anything extra, it'll be the W Series, because that's still 20 cars. Oh, here we go. Rain's lightening. Great. Rain will get lighter in 15 minutes.
Good to know.
Thanks, Jeff.
I wish I had DRS.
Aww.
Wash my mouth out. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, what is this alternate definitely zero vibe going on? I think... I don't know what else they could bring on that is new, apart from putting more into the My Team mode, and maybe trialling out some of the features that they want to stick into some kind of management-y type sim, maybe?
I'd love them to add in a management mode where you don't have to drive.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Give us a menu kind of like you have when you're driving, to control fuel mix and so on, and use that to sort of give orders and encouragement to your drivers. And then, bit of crofty commentary and let us sign 2 drivers for our team and just focus on the management side. But they won't do that now the Frontier game's coming. That's a true management game.
I would love F1 commentary back in a game again, properly. It's been too long since the Martin and Murrays of the day coming along and being able to have that on. I enjoy the fact that I've got Jeff as a race engineer. I guess the other thing that I would like to see is more alternative layouts / historical tracks, because if they're going to do the 2021, they've got to bring Imola this time. They've got the new Saudi Grand Prix to go on. Vietnam is not going to be there. Yes. Now, they've already got these tracks in Codemasters form because, A, they've bought up Project Cars, so they've got that version, but they also had those tracks were in Grid. So it always irked me that they were like, no, we couldn't possibly have these in the 2020 game. Well, I could kind of also understand it at the same time. But, this time around, they've got a choice of tracks and there's no reason for them to not have it. But just having things like the national version of several circuits would just make me happy.
You see, for me, I would like them... Like, if a track is ever on the calendar, keep it.
Yeah.
We should be able to have our own Failcast season that doesn't follow the official season. And if we want to put career on the calendar, let us do it. No, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, are they going to...
Someone's just put in the chat, Bottas stinks. I mean, well...
I can't vouch for his hygiene. I mean, I know from Drive to Survive that he takes a lot of saunas, so the boy must be fairly clean.
How funny. Oh, you're in as well.
Yep.
Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on
Thankfully, there's enough of a gap between us. My pace has been really fucking good, but my luck has been terrible. Because I got from 7th to 2nd without too much hassle, but by then you've pulled out a really big gap.
Yeah, it was Perez holding everyone up, I think, which is grand.
And now I'm back behind a Ferrari.
You'll cream the way through it though, because they're going to be on used tyres if they're not pitting themselves. The joy of the new rubber strategy. What do you think will be your predictions then for tomorrow and the race? Because I've got quite a few thoughts.
Yeah. I don't know, because like now I'm questioning what I learned from testing about race pace. But we know that there's going to be cars out there that are poorer in quality and stronger in the race. Mm-hmm. I've got a feeling Aston Martin's race pace is going to be stronger than its quali pace. Mm-hmm. That's an honest feeling. Oh God, it's tricky. It's really tricky. I think the win's Verstappen's to lose.
Okay.
So I see Verstappen taking the win. I think Perez will definitely finish in the points.
Yeah.
In terms of podium, it depends how racy everyone gets. But I have a feeling, woohoo, that it won't be both Mercedes on the podium, and I think you might get a surprise addition to the podium.
I think if there's going to be a surprise addition to the podium, it will be Pierre Gasly.
Do you know, I could go with you on that. Gasly or one of the McLarens.
Yeah. With an extreme outside chance of Leclerc, maybe. But I don't
Yeah.
think Ferrari are capable. It would have to be a complete and utter smash fest of drama. Maybe Mazepin causing a safety car at an inopportune time.
Well, I mean, also, I don't know, though, because, like, again, there's so much I don't know. It could be, that Ferrari just genuinely has amazing race pace. I've not seen anything that suggests they might not. And likewise, like, Alpha look amazing on race distance runs.
Yeah. And Giovinazzi was close enough to nearly getting into Q3 that kind of made me sit up and go, oh, actually, Alpha are doing better than I thought they would be in any way, shape or form. So they've not just reversed the colours on the livery, they've actually made a step. So
Well, according to Gary Anderson's analysis of times in practice, at least, up until practice, they were the team with the most delta gain.
Interesting.
And Mercedes are the biggest losers.
We're reaching the point where you're going to start aquaplaning with those tires.
So, interesting. All to play for.
Be long before we switch to the full wets.
Oh, shut up, Jeff. It won't be long before we switch to full wets. You only told me it was going to be drying out in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, he just told me to stick with intermediates till the end of the Grand Prix. So he's clearly working to undermine one of us. The question is who?
Schizophrenic.
Let's move on because I want to discuss your thoughts on new additions to the grid next year and if there will be any. Because 2022 is supposed to be when new teams are entering, right? But I mean,
yes.
Already by now, I would have thought this needs to be confirmed so teams can start developing and building cars. And nothing so far, except Ross Brawn saying, well, plenty of people are interested. And it's like, yeah, I'm fucking interested. I'd love to enter a Formula One team. Doesn't mean I can do it.
And I'm more with you on that statement. See, if Haas hadn't have been in such a spiral these last 2 years, I would have said, oh, you could announce a new team in the summer because they'll just buy everything off the shelf and think stupidly that they'll be able to come in the new year and be like, la la la, I'm fine. But because of the Haas spiral, I think that puts off people now buying stuff off the shelf nearly as much as what it was beforehand. And maybe that has kind of put the final nail in things, especially with Corona elongating with its 1 millionth strand of something. So, yeah, I'm worried too, especially with... so the Chinese one has gone off the radar entirely. We've got Campos was looking at something, and that didn't really happen either. Especially now that Adrian Campos sadly no longer with us. Then you've got the Monaco one, which I think is going to end up kind of sweeping up some of that Campos thing. I don't know. It all kind of feels a bit rubbish.
Went for IndyCar instead, didn't they?
Yeah. And haven't done very well. Mind you, that could be down to our Lord and Saviour Max Chilton being their driver. But, it's... I can't see where else they could come from. And the other issue is that, like, dams could have come up years ago and they've never bothered. You can't have...
No, because the management of dams are not completely fucking insane.
Yeah.
And they know that historically, an F2 team moving to F1, the cost discrepancy between the two series is so big that it's usually a death sentence for the team moving up.
Yeah, and the only other a couple of the other teams in F2, like MP Motorsports and things like that, they've been around for several years. Have never ever mentioned going to F2 at all. The only other kind of big teams that I think of elsewhere would be the stuff that's already in IndyCar, and they've got no interest in going over. And like there's Van Amersfoort maybe as open-wheeled teams in lower formula, but they're not interested in going forward either. The only thing that would kind of make me go ooh would be if... Sorry, I thought I was just going to ram Latifi. Someone stopped.
Albon.
Thank you. Like his career. It was...
Burn.
Boo. The problem the only thing that kind of made me go, oh, maybe Van Amersfoort is because if Dutch people love F1, that's a Dutch team, and that's like a tenuous link at best. No manufacturers are coming in.
No, and they're all pulling out of Formula E suddenly, which is scary.
Yeah, because it's already deemed that electric may not be the way forward either. So it's too... I find that bizarre as well.
It's interesting, though, that in contrast, Renault and Alpine have committed to F1 for eternity. Did you see that?
Eternity?
Yeah, that's the exact words they used.
Amazing. What Disney world are they living in?
Bold. But, if we can get the formula after the next one right, I think we can tempt manufacturers back, particularly Stellantis.
Who?
So this is that new company that is a merger of Peugeot, Citroën, Fiat, Alfa Romeo, a whole bunch of brands. Lancia, and they're like trying to come up with a strategy now for how to rehabilitate some of these historical brands. So they're talking about like finally a new car from Lancia, what to do with Alfa Romeo, and they're thinking of there was a rumor about Alfa Romeo maybe moving into a different motorsport than F1, perhaps Formula E, but electric is the least Alfa Romeo form of propulsion, so Sex Dynamo is a more appropriate.
Welcome to the 500 meters of Dolmio.
But that's a manufacturer that's got serious economic muscle. There was also like some mention recently about Ford having looked at coming back to F1 with a works team, but then they changed their mind, which I believe.
That surprises me, but
and then also I did see more talk again about Porsche or Audi coming in with a partnership with Red Bull. And the only way I can see that working is if basically Red Bull, having now bought an amazing engine from Honda, hands it piecemeal to Porsche, and they just stick a Porsche badge on it and develop it. And then like the bulk of the cost is done. It doesn't cost Porsche anything really.
Yeah, strange.
And isn't it always the way that Honda becomes competitive right at the moment they leave the sport?
Yeah.
They're on GP, and then now rumour is they have the most powerful engine on the grid.
If they do win, say like Red Bull win the constructors and Verstappen the drivers this year, and then Honda leave, would they be like, oh cool, we'll be back in 2026 for our new complete and utter clusterfuck of 4 years not doing anything whatsoever, so that we can then get the championship then in 2032 when we leave again? It's always the way. I don't get it.
The mind does boggle a bit. I agree with you. See, the thing is, if they hadn't have already signed all the contracts that they have, I think it'd tempt them to stay. But I don't think they expected to be as competitive this year as they are. What I do think will happen is they'll just milk it for all it's fucking worth. They'll win the championship and it'll be on every brochure and every billboard for the next 5 years. As they weep into their sake every night at having pulled the trigger too early again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we're entering really interesting times. I'll be curious to see what happens. Because I don't trust Red Bull to be able to develop that engine by themselves.
They've got no infrastructure, do they? It's a complete and utter start up from scratch. It reminds me of Mechachrome, that was it, where it was just they bought the old Renault stuff and just kind of was like, we'll coast on that for a few years and hope for the best.
Do you know something I missed at the time about Mechachrome? I didn't know this. At the time, founder and CEO of Mechachrome, Flavio Briatore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he bought his own engines.
Amazing. Could have thought of a
That's
better
right,
name
Haas.
for it.
Bow to my superior speed. I'm stuck in lapping traffic now. There's no way I'm going to catch you. What's the gap between us?
15 seconds.
Oh yeah, never fucking happening. I got caught in too much traffic, but a very well-deserved win for you, sir.
Well, we'll see. I've got a few laps I can fuck it up yet, but you are faster because you've been closing in. But
oh yeah, I mean, I keep getting fastest lap and so on, but yeah, I just spent too much time in traffic and losing my nose really fucked me. I think I could have got you in the first stint on the Inters if I hadn't have damaged my nose coming into the pits.
Yeah.
But coulda, woulda, shoulda. Yeah, I mean, I agree as well. Like, I wouldn't enter the sport right now. It would be a very foolish thing to do.
I'd also be like with the engine-free stuff. It does sound a bit too good to be true. Leclerc has just driven through Magnussen on my screens because they're both supposed to be lapped, but they're like ghosted out. So it's not even trying to overtake. They're just driving through each other. Oh, I hate the AI in this game sometimes.
I could have driven through that Alfa Romeo then, but I didn't trust that it wouldn't de-ghost and take my front wing off.
Yeah.
And also, the annoying thing is, we deliberately have ghosting turned off in our settings. So, you know, that setting does fucking nothing.
Sort that out, please, coders. Thank you.
How long are we expecting Alonso to stick around?
2 years max. If he doesn't see if he's not fighting for points all the way through the season, he'll be out by the end, I reckon.
Because, I mean, I'm surprised how well he qualified, to be honest, after a year on the sidelines.
Maybe his new jaw's a bit more aerodynamic. Oh! No.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Cyril seems desperate to have, like, a big name to drive the team, and it's just not him, in my opinion.
It's chasing a past. And it sounds cruel because he's clearly still exceptionally capable, but there is a limited shelf life that you have if you're doing a team restructure, and that's what I want to kind of frame this in. Alpine is not going to be fighting for championships in 2021, 2022, 2023 or beyond. And yes, they can use a lot of Alonso's kind of nous and clout, but ultimately, who's going to be the person that's going to pick up the mantle? And if Ocon does not step up to the plate this year, it's not going to be him. Will it be a Pierre Gasly that then comes across?
Oh, that would be a good move. Good
Frenchie
shout,
for Frenchie. And then does that mean that actually Alonso's just warming the bed and getting everything ready? Almost as you could kind of start to see how Schumacher, when he came back for 3 years for Mercedes, was getting everything in place for how instrumental then when it was Rosberg and Hamilton afterwards. You never saw the benefits of the hard work that he'd put in beforehand. And I can almost see if Alpine ever does get to the forefront of the field, Alonso fulfilling an identical role.
I don't know though, because to me, Alonso's always kind of, after his first stint at Renault, every team he's been to has gone backwards.
Yes.
And he strikes me as like hyper competitive, but I don't think he's a development driver. I think he can tell you what's wrong, but I don't think he can tell you what's right, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You know, he'll tell you the engine's underpowered, but he's got no idea how to fix it. That's the impression I get. And I don't know the guy, and it's probably an unfair assassination of his character, but I'm just looking at his career history, and signing him has always been kind of a kiss of death for teams. You know, like Ferrari came close with him once or twice, I know, but still, like, he wasn't able to get them where they needed to be. And he was once beaten on pace at home by Pastor Maldonado in a Williams.
Nicely done. Oh, predictions coming in on the chat. Let's have a little look. For Bahrain, is that Russell will get points? P9, no logic, just a feeling. Just a feeling.
I could go with that actually, because I expect there to be some incidents as well.
Yeah, Red Pig
I really expect them to.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I was going to say, Red Pigman put in the chat, who do you think is better, Nico Rosberg or Sebastian Vettel? I don't think we've ever dealt with that comparison before. We might have to save that for another one.
Yeah, I don't actually know. Let's be kind and address it. Thank you for the question. That's really hard to say because that's possibly one of the best questions we've ever received.
Yeah, thank you, Red Pigman.
That's a fantastic question. I don't know. I think Rosberg gets underrated all the time, usually by Hamilton fans. And I'm always able to say, like, up until this year, you could argue he's the most true champion we've ever had because he won in the longest season where he had to get the most right over the longest period of time.
Yeah.
And that's a controversial view, but I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate to some extent. I don't know. I get the impression Vettel is, on his day, the faster driver. But I get the feeling Rosberg can drive a car in a wider range of conditions.
I like that answer.
I think I get the feeling Rosberg is more adaptable to a car that doesn't suit him. Wow, we were a shit ton faster than everybody else on track.
We were, which is lovely.
And you lapped everyone up to Raikkonen in 12. Hot damn.
We were on it.
Who else is out of position? Perez on the podium, Lando Norris P4.
It was a front wing change for Hamilton, that's why he's 6th. But that's no points.
Well, wowzers. What does that do to our championship?
That's got to start getting us back into some kind of contention there, surely.
In the constructors, we'll definitely have closed the gap. You'll have overtaken me now in the drivers, for sure.
Man, I'm loving the pit entry between you two as well. Yes, that will go down in the history of Failcast fails, along with many other ones.
Yeah, I hit you, take off my front wing, and push you over the speed limit.
So proud. Oh, wow, look at us. Second, third and fourth in the drivers, within 10 points of the Hammy and constructors. That pushes us to
11 points behind Mercedes.
Nice.
McLaren having a hell of a season. P4, 108 points. In the drivers, who else is having a good year? No one. Everyone's pretty much where you'd expect. Perez is a bit low. But other than that, everyone's pretty much where you would expect to see them.
Even Russell.
Well then, friends, Romans, countrymen, apologies, my stream didn't work and that we've had a bit of a chaotic cast this time out, but we do individually love and thank each and every one of you. It's always awesome when people join, have a bit of a chat with us, give us something to discuss, and it's always pleasant to be surrounded by people who love Formula One as much as we do. What's going on for you this week, sir? Where can people see you? What are you doing?
I have some good little reviews coming out this week for some indie 2D platforming style games, as well as some stuff coming over on traction.gg, where I do some writing for them now, showcasing niche and weird racing games. So if that's more your bag, pop over to traction.gg. Plenty of stuff going on. How about yourself?
Well, aren't you Mr. Fancy Pants? Me, I'll be trying to fix my stream so I can stream. You know, those things are important. Yeah, Grand Prix World, if I don't fall asleep after work. That's the height of my ambition. Grand Prix World is back. We are 4 rounds in now to the 2005 season with Tyrrell, so only another two and a bit seasons to go. Leading the championship with Shinji Nakano and Mugen Honda Power, so babush.
Is that Honda over-egging before they pull out again for you?
No, we've tied them into a long contract. What I would like to do is pick up my team playthrough Sorry, I'm dying today. My team playthrough on F1 2020 because I'm about to make a switcheroo to Mercedes and hire George Russell, and that might be a good chance to pick things up again. But at the moment, like I'm so tired all the time, and work's kicking my ass that I'm not live as much as I would like to be. But I will try and remedy that. Right. Anywho, that's it from us. Love and kisses, mwah, mwah, mwah. And we will see you again in 2 weeks' time, where we will have a race to talk about.
Indeed, indeed. I hope you all have a great one. Bring some snacks and drinks along, and no doubt our predictions will be rubbish. Take care, all. Bye-bye. That wasn't the ASMR